Hello, my name is Andrew Blair. I've put together some videos to go along with my dissertation for my fourth year honours project. My question for my dissertation is identifying the stylistic approaches and techniques within funk bass playing. Each video will go through the top 4 techniques which I think, through my research, are the main factors of funk bass playing. First of all, I'll go through slap bass, onto pop and plucking bass. I'll show slap and pop together. Then I'll go on to some rhythmical styles of funk bass playing, and lastly onto the harmony and stylistic approaches within funk. From throughout my research, I've found out that Larry Graham, the bass player of Sly and Family Stone, has derived slap bass for when he played with his mother in a band back in the day when he didn't have a drummer. So he used to slap his bass to keep the kick on the bass drum of a drum kit. So he was keeping time whilst playing his bass guitar. And I've learned that you get your thumb like this, sticking out, and you bring it right up to the bridge, to the first fret, and you hit your bass there to try and get the thumping sound that Larry Graham used to call it thumping, but everybody knows it's slap bass today. But you bring it there, and you keep your hand in a kind of relaxed motion, like you're opening a door. And so it's loose and it's bouncing off the string almost, and you keep your finger ready for the next part of the video I'll show you. So I'll show you how to hit your thumb off the bass. You bring it right up here to the first fret, and you just let it, this edge of your thumb here, you'll let it bounce off, so you'll be trying to give that thumping sound that Larry Graham used to call it thumping. We all know it's slap bass. But you can go down each string, so I'll show you it going. That's obviously muting the strings, and you're slapping the bass to give that effect of the different sound. So there's some settings that you should maybe realise when you're playing slap bass. Also, first of all, go to your amp, maybe put your middle up a wee bit higher and some frequency, maybe roll back your treble just a wee bit, because it can be quite sharp and attacky if you've got too much treble on, so you want to make it kind of soft when you're on it. So a nice middle sound to go with your different pickups here on your bass. This is a jazz bass, so the first pickup next to your neck, you probably want to keep that on full, roll back your other one a wee bit, because that's where most of the sound's going to be coming from. It's a wee bit different than playing with your fingers, so you want to get it a wee bit like that. I've learned from players that you should roll back your back pickup just a tiny little bit, just to emphasise the slap a wee bit more. This is just standard ways of getting your setup right before you even start playing, so you can get the sound just perfect. So you can hear it like that, and I don't know if you can hear the difference when I roll it back on. This is a wee bit flatter, so you bring it back and it's a bit sharper, so it makes the tone and the sound a little bit better. So not only is your right hand doing something completely different to normal playing bass with your fingers, your left hand is also doing some ghost notes, dead notes and stuff to help with the percussive sound of the slap. So your left hand will be sitting on the neck as so, but you'll maybe sit it closer to the strings than you normally would to keep it dampening, because slapping the bass affects it because you're hitting it quite hard, so it can resonate all the strings. So you've got to control it with your left hand quite a lot. Give the dead note sound, so you'd be like, and then maybe hit the notes. That helps with the percussive sound, so you're keeping rhythm with the dead notes all the time when you're slapping, and you're maybe doing stuff with your fingers at the same time. So that helps controlling the sound and making the bass not resonate and affect any of the notes that you'll be playing underneath. This is the standard and basic beginner way of learning how to play slap bass. There's lots of different ways you can go about it. There's now triplets and up downs and everything you can do with your thumb when you look into it more. Some of the research I've found, there's guys that can do more like faster and slow it down, give all these different effects with it. But this is the standard way of back in the 70s when the funk slap bass started. This is what it would sound like, a unique style to funk music. So to go along with the slap bass that Larry Graham came up with, he invented this thing called pop, plucking. People call it plucking nowadays, but he called it pop. Lift your string up almost higher than you would ever think of, but don't be scared to bring it up because you've got to get that attack sound. To let it smash off the fretboard like that to make it sound like a snare drum. So the thump of your slapping the bass was to give the kick drum, and this is to give the effect of a snare and attack sound. So it'd be like, it's quite good to use octave exercises to kind of go along with that. You know, when you add them together, it's kind of, you can hear how he's hitting on the one, and he's hitting on the snare with his pop, and he's playing, mostly playing the melodies with his pop, so he'll be going around like, stuff like that. So to try and give the effect of percussion of the kit that he didn't have in his band at the time. So, adding slap and pop together, I'll do a little example of a Larry Graham piece to kind of let you hear what it sounds like when you add it together, and think in your head why it's so percussive, because he never had a drum kit. So this is Larry Graham's Hair that he wrote. The rhythmical side can also go with each technique that I'll go through in the videos, slap, pop, using your fingers like normal. It's known that when James Brown changed jazz into funk music, Bootsy Collins keeps telling us in interviews that you've got to bang on the one, hit it on the beat one, every time hit on beat one. And he would get told that if you never hit it on beat one, you'd get in trouble and get fined off James Brown for missing beat one on the bass each time. Also, 8th and 16th notes are used quite a lot within funk bass playing. The fast pace and the music, which probably leads people to dance more, is probably this is what leads to the 8th notes and the 16th notes. So the 8th notes would sound like this. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 and 3 and 4. And the 16th notes are even faster. Like. When you're listening to funk music, always listen to beat one in the music, how that everything else seems to emphasise on that beat, which pushes the music, and you always hear kind of one, and they go to the three, sometimes they miss it out, so they're always jumping about, but they're always coming back to the one, and playing stuff in between, going back to the one, so they're always making sure they hit it bang on to get that feel, which you know is funk music. So I'll just give a wee example, listen out to hitting beat one each time. Cool, so now we're moving on to the kind of stylistic approaches of funk music. All the little bits within it which are like the icing on top, which make it kind of what it is really, makes the bass sound musical and why I think the bass is kind of leading this kind of the funk vibe. You get all things that funk bass players seem to be doing nowadays, the kind of trills, hammer-ons, also one I got learned about called the wobble. I can give you some examples of these. So you can see the trills like so. You can hear that right away, that go with some funny, cool bass lines and stuff that you can hear with the fast momentum. The hammer-ons. You heard it in Larry Graham's Hair version that I played when it goes. You can hear it, the kind of slap, you kind of popping it. It gives that attack again, so it's kind of going with the first techniques that I showed you in the videos. And the wobble, Larry Graham seems to do a lot of that as well. Kind of get with your pinky and wobble the string a wee bit to give that cool effect. So coming on to kind of the harmony of funk bass playing, they like to kind of do chromatic scales and runs, which you get a lot of bass solos within funk music, plus the bass is kind of mostly playing melody lines quite a lot, so they go, it's mostly minor scales, chromatic runs over minor chords and stuff, so maybe a bit like this. Throughout all the research that I've undertaken to research the top 4 techniques of funk bass playing, there's always licks and grooves that funk bass players seem to always be bringing back into their songs and their music. You can always hear the same grooves coming back and the licks that they're using. I'll give a couple of examples of some, but there's many, all the bass players kind of have their own touch and their own feel to it. So the first kind of lick or groove kind of goes like this. And other ones that you kind of like to hear is kind of running up the chromatic scales will be a bit like. Thank you very much for watching my videos. I hope they've been useful and taught you something about funk bass playing. Also hope that you could maybe tackle some of these yourself. If you listen to the composition that's going to go along with these videos, you'll hear each technique played within the composition, and I'll try and make it obvious so you can hear each bit from it. It'll be a self-written track from all the research that I've undergone for my dissertation. Thank you.